So the objective for this old square tube car is we've got several things. One is we're going to cut the frame rack, or the cross member here that holds the rack and pinion, and the lower control arm mounts here. We're going to cut this entire assembly out, and we have purchased from Masters Built a brand new jigged up piece that we'll be using to replace that piece. It's going to help tip the rack up and bring it up a little bit like this. That way we're digging in the mud. We got to get this rack plate out of the mud, and it's a little bit different design than this one here, and I think it's going to be stronger and it's going to be better when we're all finished here. So that's going to be objective number one. In order to do that, we're going to have to cut this entire engine mount assembly out. I'm going to cut it off here, here, and here. Or else we're going to cut the cross member off here. And then we're going to have to do the same thing on this side. We're going to have to cut this little stub here, cut it here, and back here. And then that's essentially going to take the whole bottom, lower cross member cradle assembly out of this thing. And we've got all new parts and pieces off the jig that we purchased directly from Masters Built, and they're going to get us all up to date. We're rubbing right here, so we're going through the track, and according to the jig builder, it's okay to touch the track a little bit, but digging in is not good. And I think we've got a pretty substantial bare spot there to notify us that, you know, I think we're digging in. We're not just skipping off the top here. So take measure too.
Come on now.
I know. So our bend up starts right about here on this mark. We're probably going to come back roughly 5 inches. That's going to put us somewhere right in here. And so we'd like to go ahead and cut the frame here, and then probably bring it all the way up and cut it just a little bit beyond right here and tuck it in right back here. And when we do that, we're going to probably have to cut this piece out here as well. But that's still to be determined whether we can cut that or make that a bracket. But that's essentially what we're going to try and do. Is we're going to tuck us a straight piece in here just like this. And cameraman, if you can come down here and see, you can see by just this little change right here how much we're going to bring that frame rail, and we're basically going to clear everywhere where the chassis has been running. We're just going to cut it here and cut it there, stub this off here. We'll probably have to move this mount. Hopefully we won't have to move the engine mount too much. We shouldn't have to mess with any of the door bar. All that stuff should be back here, and we should be good.
Yeah, we're going to replace these 4-bar brackets. We got some pretty neat looking ones. Whatever you did with the box.
It's right here.
Let's see what we got.
So also part of our adventure here is we got this very old 4-bar bracket set up. This here may even be for a Z-Link. I don't even really know what a Z-Link is, so I'm going to go over above and beyond my late model capabilities. I'm not really for sure, I'll be honest, what these 2 holes here would be used for. Maybe some sort of exceptionally long bar off the bottom there, maybe. But we have pretty, you know, these are almost like 5+ degree, maybe 7 degree changes as we index our rods on our bird cages to our chassis here. And we're looking for a little bit more flexibility, and maybe somewhere in between. You know, we feel like we're not as good here, we're better here, but we lose out in certain areas. We'd like to be somewhere in between. So to be somewhere in between, we have to get new brackets here, and these new brackets here are made by Masters Built, and we're going to cut this entire assembly off. We're going to use this bracket setup here. I'll try my best to put it together how it's going to kind of look here.
Oh boy.
I'll have any 2 bolts. No 2 bolts in this. So essentially it's going to have these bushings that are going to go through here, and then these bushings are going to have bolts that go through, and then this whole assembly, if I can put that one, the heater kicks on there.
Yeah.
The whole assembly here is going to be welded to a new piece we're going to put in right here, and then it's all going to bolt on there together. It's going to look like that. So it's going to get a massive upgrade. This is definitely the latest and greatest stuff that Masters Built has out right now, and it's what they're running on all their newest cars. All the guys, their cars they run in the dirt, the Lucas Oil Dirt Late Model Racing Series. Not that we're anything close to that.
Yeah, we're just
but
minor.
You know, a couple big things to point out on these is the amount of space is half. So basically each one of these holes is a half. It's like having a hole right here. And it also has the double stack hole. So instead of having to actually index and change our bar lengths here to change the overall turnout of the rear end, we can actually just move this hole one spot. And it's a whole lot easier when you're at the track than to try to undo all this and lengthen or shorten these bars. All you have to do is just take this one bolt out, slide it in the index, and you can get more rear steer out of your late model with this particular bracket setup. So, gonna get new 4-bar brackets, new power steering rack in the front, you know, new cross member engine mount, raised right front frame rail, and then the last thing we've got for this update, I want to show them the damage a little bit here. So we got into a little bender here a while back, and we kind of damaged our mount. It broke a shock.
It looks a little ragged.
I'll show you what a $600 oopsie looks like. So that's the shock that was on there when it broke, and it bent all this. So
it was probably 5 nights old.
Yeah, 5 nights old. $600 Integra shock down the drain. So we're gonna cut all this out. This is pretty thin right here. This upper rail is. This is a nice billet shock mount that's made directly from Masters Built for their cars. It's got these replaceable ears on it. So in the event that something like this happens again, all we have to do is unbolt it on this side and replace these ears. We won't have to worry about refabricating this to the chassis again. So this is going to be kind of a one and done type deal for us. And essentially we're going to cut all this off, and we're going to weld this new mount in here. Actually, I think it goes like that. And the goal here is to bring the center line of this about a 1/2 inch up and maybe about a 1/2 inch in. So somewhere right, probably in that mud, stay up on the bars, and get around the track. So that's our objective. That's a lot of work. It's going to be a long time hanging out with us to get all this done. So, but we wanted to kind of catch everybody up to speed before we got too far into the project here. I think at this point we're almost ready to start, you know, making more mock-up points like this. And you know, there's no book about how to do this. We're just going to, you know, we're going to do the best we can. We're going to take lots of measurements. And at the end of the day, if you want to get on this shot here, at the end of the day, our most important spot is making sure that this engine mount, as far as in all 3 axes, this way, and this way, we got to make sure that that point is exactly where it needs to be for when we weld in the new engine mount. And then this piece here, we're really only so much concerned about our distance back and up. We don't necessarily need 3 dimensions for this, because it's going to lay in there. Its left to right is defined by the you know, by the frame rail of the car itself. So but that's going to be some of the things we're working towards, is making sure we've got good measurements for this, to cut all this out, and to make sure that we've got everything measured out before we cut once and weld once and get it right the first time.
We'll see.